Nobody move. Everything will be okay. If you try to make any move, you'll danger yourself and the airplane. Just stay quiet.
We have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York, and we need you guys to, we need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out.
Is this real world or exercise?
No, this is not an exercise, not a test.
Hey, can you look out your window right now?
Yeah.
Can you see God about 4,000 feet, about 5 east of the airport right now? Looks like he's...
Yeah, I see him.
That's another situation.
Another one just hit the building.
Wow. Wow. Another one hit it hard. Another one just hit the World Trade.
The whole building just came apart.
The region commander has declared that we can shoot down aircraft that do not respond to our direction. Copy that?
Copy that, sir.
You read that from the Vice President, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, at 9:07, the last aircraft crashed in the field in the outskirts of Shanksville, Pennsylvania. We'd just like to take a moment of silence to remember those who sacrificed that day. Thank you, and I'd invite Chaplain Chael Tiller to come forward to give us the invocation.
Would you pray with me? Almighty God, we are drawn before you today as brothers and sisters in memory of tragedy. We are here at this memorial built to honor the loss of life, the sacrifice, and heroism in face of unspeakable evil. Yet, God, we know that you are near to the brokenhearted, near to those who mourn, near to the just and to the compassionate. And so we know that you are here with us today as we honor and remember those who have lost their lives, as those who have bravely chosen to give and save their lives. We invite you, Lord, to draw near today and to draw near to our hearts, to draw us together and to help us find comfort in you, to help us find peace and hope in your presence. Turn our mourning into gladness. Turn our fear into courage. Turn our hearts to you today in this place. And may we never forget. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. As this column before us fell from the sky 15 years ago today, our enemies intended to strike fear in our hearts. As we watched in disbelief and horror as the World Trade Center and the Pentagon were attacked, and how the towers fell, we also saw the sacrifices of our brothers and sisters in the police and fire service, as well as our brothers and sisters in arms at the Pentagon, and how they responded that day and over the skies throughout the country. But rather than strike fear in our hearts, the enemy actually inspired my fellow combat veterans who saw this as an act of war. They saw this as a call to action. Marine Private First Class Jeffrey Morris was one of those great Americans who swore the oath, "This we'll defend." Private First Class Morris, he was inspired to join the Marines, but he also was an inspiration for many of us. And he stood strong against our enemies. And even as he too fell, he continued to be an inspiration for many of us. To some, words like freedom are just words. But to my fellow brothers and sisters in arms, that is something that they are willing to defend with their lives. Gold Star Father Kirk Morris was inspired by his son's actions, and he took the effort over many years to bring us this column that you see before us today. And we want to take this opportunity to pay tribute to those who sacrificed so much that day and the lives that were lost, and also in the subsequent wars for the global war on terrorism, the wars in Afghanistan, the wars in Iraq, that so many have sacrificed for us to be able to maintain this great way of life. And it's a testament here in Wauconda today how you two stand and keep the faith with those who have paid the ultimate price. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce to you Gold Star Father Kirk Morris.
I posted this, I don't know, about a week or so ago, and it created a lot of stir. But I've simply said a couple of words. Does anybody remember the day when color, race, religion, political affiliation didn't matter? The day when police and firefighters were the biggest heroes on the planet. The day when we were all just Americans. September 11, 2001 changed the world we live in. The world we knew, from a world our children may never know again. My son Jeffrey joined the Marine Corps because of what he witnessed on that day while we were fishing out in Lake Michigan, and how violated and frustrated he still felt many years later. 17 of his classmates also joined the military. 2 of those 17 would come home in flag-draped coffins. Another 10 earned Purple Hearts and literally left pieces of themselves in Iraq and Afghanistan. Good morning. My name is Kirk Morris, and I am a Gold Star Father, and I am proud to have helped so many from this community pull this Heroes of Freedom Memorial together for the village of Wauconda. The events of 9/11 caused America to promise we will never forget. This meant to never forget the 3,000 victims of mass murder, to never forget the heroic actions of emergency personnel and the average citizens, to never forget how we felt that day, to ensure a similar event may never happen again. Hints of a feeling of togetherness began on September 11th itself, on that day. And a similar feeling of solidarity swept the country, starting with candlelight vigils, memorial services in states across the Union. It was seen in a sea of waving American flags, then pins, then patches, and bumper stickers. The entire nation shared a unified sense of purpose. They backed the president almost unanimously. A Gallup poll taken in October 2011 showed 90% approval of his performance, including 89% of the Democrats. In the face of losing the freedoms, the prosperity we had long enjoyed, Americans better appreciated them. We were prepared to work hard and ensure their continued existence. Individuals began volunteering, both for 9/11 related charities and local causes. Thousands returned to the churches of their childhood, trying to make sense of what had happened that day. By some estimates, nearly half of adults attended a religious service on the Sunday following 9/11. Charitable donations went up as well, with Americans giving about $2.8 billion to help those affected by the terror attacks. Some of the changes after September 11th lasted a few months. Volunteer members continued to rise until about 2006, and they've been waning ever since. The world condemned the attacks in New York City in 2011, as they condemned the terrorist attacks in Paris, Brussels, Madrid, and Nice. it certainly seems the world is a more dangerous place. Historically, however, tragedy and hardship have a great effect on Americans. It is then that we come together as one, ready to tackle any challenge that comes our way. In the wake of September 11th, it seemed the greatest lesson people felt was we are strong. We can get through this. We will make it through. Most people would say that it's the same resilience that has greatly contributed to this America's historical success. That for 2 centuries, it has caused the U.S. to hold the greatest army, be the world leader in agriculture, manufacturing, production, technology, and trade. Garner strong defensive strongholds throughout the world. Throughout that time, the nation repeatedly overcame challenges: the Civil War, World War I, World War II, the Great Depression, and almost always emerged stronger. Through adversity, through difficult times, we can always come out of it and rise above. I believe and I hope you always remember, that we were attacked not for what we have done wrong, but what we do great. The Heroes of Freedom Memorial built here on this site was not constructed just to remember the tragedy of the victims of that day, or the very surreal couple of days that followed, but the cacophony of sacrifices made on your behalf of thousands of first responders, tens of thousands of men and women who served and still serve in the military, who confront this country's evils face to face. While some scars of that day remain, the lives of most have largely returned to where they were before 9/11. Families changed forever. Our family changed forever when 2 Marine officers and a Navy chaplain knocked on our door at 12:30 a.m. I personally know hundreds of families who are missing their children, husbands, wives, mothers, because of the wars that followed. Families torn apart, dynamics irrevocably changed. We live with the horrors and the aftermath every single day. Always remember how blessed you are to see another day. God bless the men and women who honorably serve this country, and God bless the USA. And thank you for listening.
Just like to take one moment to recognize another member of the Morris family. Dylan Morris, actually, as his Eagle Scout project, worked with us on this memorial, and he created the planter beds that you see here that we call the Shanksville Garden. So I'll let Dylan speak to that just for one moment.
Well, we traveled to Shanksville, which we all know is where the last plane landed, and we gathered some soil from where roughly that plane had landed, and we brought back a couple of buckets and mixed it with our own soil here, and that's to signify that it's part of this memorial as well, and that's what we're doing it here for. So thank you.
So on behalf of the Village of Wauconda, we'd just like to offer this small memento of our appreciation from the citizens of Wauconda for your efforts here at the memorial. Thank you so much, Dylan. Ladies and gentlemen, now I have the honor to introduce to you our keynote speaker this morning. Colonel Jill Morgenthaler is an Iraq veteran and one of the first women to go through at the time was Experimental Reserve Officer Training Corps program, ROTC. And also, she was the first battalion commander for her battalion, as well as the first brigade commander for her brigade. I like to think of Colonel Morgenthaler as an inspiration for all of us, but especially for young women and for women in general to see that we truly are the land of the free and the home of the brave. Ladies and gentlemen, retired Colonel Jill Morgenthaler.
Hooah! Hooah! Or you Marines, hoorah! Twice in recent American history, our homeland has been attacked. The first time occurred on December 7th, 1941, in Hawaii. The Japanese admiral who organized the attack against America said, "I fear that all I have done is awaken the sleeping giant," and filled him with terrible remorse and resolve. The second time most of us remember, it was a beautiful day like today, September 11th, 2001. On that beautiful day, we witnessed an evil still beyond our comprehension. The viciousness of the attack shocked people around the world. Good people around the world cried for America. However, there were people who blamed America for the attacks. Some said we brought it upon ourselves. There is no grievance that justifies such violence. Some people claimed we did this to ourselves. That outrageous lie deserves no answer. There were even some Americans who said God was punishing us. This was not an act of God. This was a godless act. These terrorists demand the impossible. They want to send us back 1,000 years. They want to eliminate freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to vote. They want to take away our right to freedom of choosing our own destiny. They want to destroy those who dare to think differently. These terrorists think they know Americans. They see our generous nature around the world, and they mistaken that as weakness. They shake our soft hands and do not see the iron resolve in our hands. And they witness the diversity of race, ethnicity, and religion. And they don't understand that within every Irish American, Arab American, Mexican American, Asian American, within every hyphenated American, there beats the heart of an American. Period. Their mission is ongoing. They want to mess with our heads. They want to rob us of peace of mind. They want to keep us from believing in a safe and free America. We must keep our resolve to stay vigilant. So, let us not blame thousands of good people for the evil of a few. Instead, let us gain thousands of good people to fight the evil of the few. We can only defeat the enemy by standing together. The real differences around the world today are not between Muslims and Christians, Arabs and Jews. The real differences are between those who embrace peace and those who would destroy it, and those who look to the future and those who would bomb us to the past. So today, remember not the horror of September 11th, but the humanity and the heroism. Remember the quiet heroes, our brave first responders, our soldiers, sailors, Marine, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, who with compassion and sacrifice did the best in the worst of times. Let us stay resolved to provide a better world for our children. We will win this struggle. So today, thank a quiet hero, a pilot, a firefighter, a police officer, an emergency responder, a soldier, a sailor, a Marine, a Coast Guardsman, and an airman. Thank them for their courage and their compassion. And remember, each time in America's history when we have faced a challenge, we embraced it, we conquered it, and we came out stronger. The terrorists have awoken the giant. Hooah! Hooah! God bless you. God always bless America.
Thank you so much, Colonel Morgenthaler. I'd also like to ask Marine Colonel Morgan Mann to come forward. Colonel Mann, if you could share a few words with us.
Thank you. Hey, thanks, Pipers. I know you got a Marine Corps hymn in you too somewhere today, right? Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Americans, citizens of this great country. Thank you to the city of Wauconda for supporting this memorial and hosting today's ceremony. I do want to especially call out that this memorial could not have been possible without the tenacity, commitment, and leadership of Kurt Morris, who fought so hard to make this happen over the years. A selfless patriot, a Gold Star father, and someone who cares about this community and country. Thanks, Kurt. On 9/11, I was in Houston, Texas, putting on a suit, and like many of you, I was getting ready for the day. I'd been out of the Marine Corps 3 years, and I turned on the TV and watched those events unfold that day, like many of you all did. You know exactly where you were and what was happening. And I gazed at the television, and like all of you, knew that the world had changed. I ended up driving back to Chicago that day, taking 2 days to get there. 2 weeks later, I reaffiliated with the Marine Corps, and 2 months later, I was back in uniform. And since those 15 years, I've been to Iraq twice, Afghanistan, Africa, Eastern Europe, Ukraine, and trained a lot of companies and battalions to get ready for war. And so I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on this, because today isn't about me, and it's in many ways it's not about us here right now. It's about memorializing and honoring the victims of Al-Qaeda's attack on American soil September 11th, 2001. The first responders who gave their lives, gave everything to save others, and to the servicemen and women of our armed forces who for the past 15 years have been serving our country in faraway places, so that those who seek to do us harm are prevented from achieving their objectives. So I just want to comment briefly here on what the symbolism of the Twin Towers and the Pentagon attacks mean to me, and as a citizen soldier, what this means. We have Veterans Day and Memorial Day to thank those who have served and honor those who have fallen. And we can certainly do the same here today. But I would argue that if we memorialize 9/11, it should be more than for just our military. We must remember and reflect on why America is a target. And like many who have already spoken, we're a target because we're a prosperous and generous nation. We've chosen to lead the free world and not be just one nation among many. 9/11 is an excellent day to celebrate this, to recognize this, because Al-Qaeda did not attack our military that day. Al-Qaeda and its mutant progeny want to destroy our way of life and what we stand for and how we live. We, of course, cannot and will not let this happen. This country of ours is special. We are an exceptional nation. Our culture of individualism, innovation, empathy for others, the freedom to fail and try again, the eagerness to explore are our hallmarks throughout history. These traits are supported by democracy, rule of law, and a constitutional framework that must endure the social, political, and economic changes and turbulence that we're facing even today. This framework must endure at all costs, or the sacrifices that we have all made are in jeopardy. We should not fear our enemies, their message, their weapons, or their tactics. I don't fear those punks much at all, having fought them regularly. To live in fear is to live in tyranny. In Iraq, I plainly saw how a culture of fear erodes community, destroys prosperity, and turns neighbor against neighbor. We don't want that here. We must continue to kill our enemy on the battlefield. Those that seek to destroy our way of life and use fear and terror as a tactic must and will be defeated. However, physical courage on the battlefield is easy compared to the moral courage we as citizens must maintain here at home in order to protect our freedoms, our democracies, and our liberties. If we succumb to fear, if we don't engage with the world, if we sacrifice our liberties for just a fractional increase in feeling better and more secure here at home, we're failing ourselves. That's not the nation who we are, and that's not the exceptional nation that the world knows of us. I can't help but be an optimist when I work daily with young Marines, sailors, soldiers, and airmen. In combat, you see the best in our youth. On November 4th, 2004, my company was tasked with securing a town of Yusufi, Iraq, south of Baghdad. We had just occupied a blown-up police station, and I had just established a perimeter. And Lance Corporal Piotr Budzani, a Polish immigrant, was in the turret of a Humvee, manning a machine gun, looking down an alleyway, and a car veered into that alley and started to approach at high speed. He had seconds to decide what to do, friend or foe, shoot or not to shoot. He shot. He killed the driver immediately. The car exploded in a huge fireball, sending the engine block over Piotr's head and into my perimeter. He saved countless lives that day. And in 2014, I witnessed young Marines and sailors risking their lives almost every day to help local Afghans, to help a Afghan security soldier counterpart. These young men and women conduct selfless acts of courage on a daily basis and think nothing of it, and ask for nothing in return other than our support. We shoulder with them the decisions of life and death, and almost every day they make the right decision. These are your sons and daughters, every single day, leading this country forward. They do it to help their buddy, to win for the team, and to not let fellow Marines down. And that's our national character, woven into each generation, a character that we must cherish and respect, a character that can be seen in our own communities here, if you look around, and if we allow it to blossom. We should have faith that the younger generations that come after us will do the right thing if we give them the opportunity to do so. Thank you for the time here today to speak to you all. Thank you for your continued support of our young men and women in uniform. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
I'd now like to invite a member of our, excuse me, I'd like to now invite a member of our community who's been instrumental in this memorial and also the memorial you'll see just to our left there, and that's Don Kutnak. Don has been instrumental in helping bring this memorial to reality, as well as he's been an instrumental part of making Wauconda great. He's involved in so many organizations, and we very much appreciate his service to the community. So we'd now invite Don Kutnak to share his thoughts.
Before I start, I would like to introduce three ladies who were flight attendants that are here this morning representing the aircraft that went down on that horrible day.
Good morning. Good morning, all. My name is Anita. I'm a flight attendant for American Airlines, along with my colleague Christine, and to all other crew members that are here, you understand what that day meant for us. That day made our jobs a different place. In the days that followed 9/11, I didn't want to go back to work. I was scared to death, terrorized. And that started making me mad. I said, they're not going to get me. They're not going to terrorize me. But mostly, I knew I had to put my uniform on. This uniform. Go back to work to honor my fellow crew members who literally faced the terrorists eye to eye and fought them off ever so bravely. I decided I had to go to work, put this uniform on for those that had this same uniform on, that were on the same payroll as me, and honor them. And I had to march on for them. In the days that followed, I realized I would not be able to march forward, one foot in front of the other, without all of the help of our military people, but also of all of the normal, common people that started coming back to the airplanes and started flying. And I watched them start to put one foot in front of the other and march forward and go on, because they know this is the best country in the world to live in. So to all of you, to you, all of our service people, thank you for helping me march on.
I had to do that to respect them. I had a small part in this memorial, but I had the pleasure of working with some of the best contractors in Lake County and Wisconsin, including my friend Kurt and his son. I'm going to name off some of the contractors here and if you're here, I'd like you to stand up in front here, please. Kirkus Electric, I know he's not here. Berger Excavating. Thank you, Dale. Ozinga did all the concrete for free. Everything here was done and donated, including all the labor. Lake County Contractors Association, Grays Lake Electric. This beam was transported by J.A. Freight out of Crystal Lake from New York to here. Tommy Goyette. Tommy spent a big part. Tommy, where are you at? Tommy did all these names on this back wall. Everyone's name is on that back wall. God bless him. The Honorable Frank Burt. Local 150 and 301, Joseph A. Henderson and Sons. They did the concrete work here, every bit of it, and never blinked an eye once. McKinney Steel, and Federal Rental Fence. They all donated their time and their materials and never batted an eye to make sure we had the best memorial they could ever build. And let me say one thing. Everything's got a story. If you didn't know it, I'm going to tell you. These boxes in front of us, the flower boxes, are 9 foot 11 inches long. And as you know, they have the dirt from Pennsylvania because they brought it in for me. There's 4 benches here which represent the 4 aircraft that went down that day. You have the Pentagon, which is holding up the beam from the 91st floor. And then you have the back wall. You have the New York Fire Department and the police department on one side and the firemen on the other side, which works out perfectly between the police and fire department here. And then all the names of all the deceased from the World Trade Center, the 4 aircraft, the police, and the firemen. and the Pentagon. Let us never forget. God bless us, America. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, now representing our first responders, I'd like to invite one of our first brothers in blue, Patrick Kane from the Wauconda Fire Department. He is a battalion chief there.
Good morning. As the mayor said, Patrick Kane is my name. I'm a firefighter here and one of the battalion chiefs with the Wauconda Fire District. I also served the United States Marine Corps during the late 1970s. We gather here this morning, folks, to remember what took place on Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. I see a lot of youngsters here. I thought it just might be helpful if we review a few events together, so just bear with me a second. 19 Islamic extremists hijacked 4 U.S. airliners and carried out terrorist attacks against U.S. targets that morning. As you know, 2 aircraft hit the World Trade Towers in New York City 18 minutes apart, ultimately destroying both towers, killing nearly 3,000 people in and around the tower, including those on the aircraft. Of those killed, 343 of them were firefighters, EMTs, 23 police officers, 37 Port Authority officers, all just doing their job that day, providing aid. There were thousands of injuries, as we know, sustained as well. During all of this in New York, a 3rd aircraft strikes along the west side of the Pentagon, killing nearly 200 people, 125 of those military, and the 64 that were on board the aircraft. Here again, countless injuries. While all this is going on, a 4th aircraft got delayed out of New Jersey that morning because of everything that was going on. So several of the passengers have been made aware of the events going on in New York. So as we know, that aircraft never made it to its target, but unfortunately crashed in the field in Pennsylvania, killing all 45 on board. And as it's been spoken here before, many of us watched all this in horror on television that day. You all remember where you were. At 2100 hours that same evening, President George W. Bush addressed us all on TV. And he said, I quote, "Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the American resolve." And then on October 7th of 2001, Operation Enduring Freedom, which was the American-led international effort to oust the Taliban in Afghanistan and destroy bin Laden's network, began and continues. It's been 15 years now, folks. We were attacked not for what we do wrong, but for what we do right. And without concerted effort, however, as horrific events fade in the rearview mirror, so can lessons learned from it. This memorial here that stands in the shadow of our community is a constant reminder to all of us who reside and pass through. The events of that day reshaped the face of our nation. Our lives have changed as a result. We must never forget the inhumanity terrorists are willing to stoop to in the name of their depraved causes as they attempt to destroy the very blanket of freedom we wrap ourselves around every night. Following the attacks, patriotism reached a high point in our community and throughout the country. We're proud to be Americans. We rallied around the police and fire departments. Patriotic songs were written and sung on the radio. The country rallied together in support of our military and the efforts of our political leaders. That was 15 years ago, though. Times have changed, memories have faded. While some scars remain, the lives of most have largely returned to where they were before September 11th. The American resolve has not changed, I'll put to you. We're still an intelligent, resilient, strong, idealistic, confident, compassionate group, aren't we? Our memories fade, and at times we may stumble and lose focus. So let's use today to refocus on those things that are important to us and to our families. So I pose the question, what brought you all out here this morning, huh? Well, you brought me out here. I heard you all coming, and I wanted to stand united with you to remember what happened 15 years ago and the consequences that followed and affected us all. I remember the average American that day was just going about their daily business. I remember the firefighters, EMTs, police, Port Authority officers. They were just doing their job that day, providing aid, just like you, average Americans. We gathered this morning in vanity and dignity to honor the freedoms our loved ones have sacrificed and died for, and remember the sorrows that so many still suffer with today. Take a moment today, stop somewhere. Remember what's happened in your past and our nation's past. Recall those events that have shaped your life and those of your family. Talk with your children, parents, today. Remembering today is not a choice, but an obligation. And I'll close it with something Abraham Lincoln said a long time ago. In the end, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. Thanks very much for coming out. God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you now to join me in welcoming our Deputy Chief of Police, Michael Bauderman.
Good morning. Pat, I thought I was doing the history part. Thanks. Unfortunately, I have a head cold today, so we're going to have to bear with me, please. I'd like to thank the Mayor and the Memorial Committee for the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you today. My name is Michael Bauderman. I'm currently the Deputy Chief of the Wauconda Police Department. Chief Ormus sends his regrets that he couldn't be here today because he has a family commitment in another state. I now, too, regret that he's not here because I can hardly get through this speech. However, we both felt that having the opportunity to address the citizens of the village we serve is truly an honor. As we reflect on the events from September 11th, 2001, each of us remembers aspects of which we will forever be etched in our memories. I myself recall standing in front of my television with my 8, 6, and 2-year-old sons. My thoughts immediately brought me to the realization that our way of life forever will be altered. Not only for me, but for my 3 young boys who looked at my face as the horror unfolded on the TV. We watched glued to the TV as one of the worst days in American history proved to bring out the very best in our fellow Americans. At that point in time, I had served as a police officer for close to a decade. It struck me as I watched hundreds of first responders rush into those burning buildings that the fundamental duty of serving mankind has never been more prevalent than on that day. These brave men and women took the duty of safeguarding human life and protecting the innocent to a level that is unimaginable to most. The names of those individuals and the departments they represented are displayed on the wall behind me. Unfortunately, this tragedy continues to claim the lives of many men and women who selflessly served the city of New York as they participated in the recovery and cleanup of Ground Zero. Due to the effects of the air quality 15 years ago, many fellow police officers and firefighters continue to fall in the line of duty. Our department would like to thank each of you for your continued support of law enforcement. This support has quite an impact on how officers do their job day in and day out. We are proud to serve our community. I will leave you with a quote from General George Patton that encompasses my thoughts that surrounded the day that 400 plus responders gave the ultimate sacrifice. It is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Chaplain Tiller to offer the benediction.
Would you pray with me one last time? Our gracious God, as we prepare to depart today, we commit ourselves to never forget those we've lost, as well as to pray for those who have served and continue to serve to ensure the safety of our nation and our community. We ask you to protect them, they protect us. When we go and we depart from here, remind us not just of the loss that we've experienced, but of the freedom we still have and of the precious gift of life that we have been given from you. Lord, give us eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart and a will to respond to the needs around us every day. May we go and see the image of God in every human life. May we go and be agents of peace where there is unrest. May we go and be agents of healing where there is brokenness. May we go and be just where there is injustice. May we go and bring mercy where there are cries for mercy. Send us out, Lord, in the hope and in the truth that you can and will restore all things and make all things new. Amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to thank all of you for coming this fine morning. And one final thought I'd just like to leave you with is that those that attacked us on September 11th, they did so out of hate. But you see, all of the different groups of people who are represented here with our firemen, our policemen, and all the branches of the military, they do what they do because they love people, but especially Americans. And that's our finest strength.